understanding is the abortion issue.
Is abortion legal or illegal in Arizona right now?
There is a law in the books that makes abortion illegal, and that's 133603. As there's another law that's going to be in effect in about, I think, 85 days-ish.
Does an injunction need to be lifted for that law to take effect?
That's a good question. The injunction was issued, and it covered the Attorney General's office, and it covered the Pima County Attorney's office. The issue is whether it covers the other 14 counties. That's going to have to be addressed by a court.
Do you believe it is?
If
Pima County and the Attorney General's office are the exceptions in the injunction, then that means Maricopa County, that law is in effect here, right?
If that's how the court rules, that the injunction does not cover the county, Maricopa County, then yes, it would be in effect here. Yes.
What would you say to women and providers who have questions right now and they're not getting answers?
Well, I can't give them advice, obviously. What I would say is that there is a law on the books in Arizona that says that abortion is illegal.
I understand that you think it's the right thing to do to give exceptions to abortions for rape and incest. Talk about your reasoning and also about the leeway you think you have in being able to exercise that discretion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I've said about that is, I don't think it's a legitimate use of a prosecutor's discretion. I don't really think it's prosecutorial discretion to say I simply wholesale will not prosecute a particular type of crime. But I think it is important to use your discretion to look at the individual facts and circumstances of certain cases. And specifically, I've mentioned the child molest cases and incest or sex assault cases. And you asked for my reasoning. Very honestly, I've prosecuted sex crimes for 25 years. I've had a number of victims that have gotten pregnant either through molest, incest type situations or just molest situations, as well as sexual assault. And I am not about the business of re-victimizing victims.
There's no court challenge currently to the pre-statehood law that I'm aware of, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Let me know if you're aware of one. But if there is no court challenge, then will you just wait to see if there's a court challenge and just leave this question hanging, or will you maybe try to enforce this law, and that would bring the court challenge?
At this point, I'm not going to try to enforce a law that to prosecute a case that's not before me. We don't have any submittals to this county attorney's office at this point, and so it would be premature to have to address that with the court. We don't have a case.
Could your office initiate the process to lift the injunction so that way Arizonans can have that clarity?
I think we could, given the question about whether it applies to us. I think we could.
Do you plan to?
Not without a case in front of me. But obviously we're dealing in a very speculative type situation right now because we don't have any cases submitted to our office.
For those cases involving rape or incest, just talking with some providers yesterday, they had some questions regarding if, they have a patient, would that patient have to submit any documentation, a police report? How's that going to work in looking at those cases?
I think this is the problem when you're talking about a case that's not before me. I'd have to look at each individual case, and I think it would be really irresponsible for me as a prosecutor to sit there and say, well, here's what I'm going to do, and here's exactly what I'm going to require. Every case that I've ever looked at in my entire career is different from every other case. And what I'm going to tell you is, if a case comes in, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to look at every part of it before I make a decision on how to act. I get this is an extremely difficult issue. It is extremely emotional on both sides, and people feel very strongly about it. My role is to enforce the law and to look at cases as they come to me and make a decision and follow the ethical charging standard that we apply to every case, which is a reasonable likelihood of conviction.
Okay, last question. Well, how can you make those exceptions with the Bartow law that will be taking effect this fall? It explicitly states you cannot make exceptions for rape or incest, and yet you'll be able to. But can you explain how you do that without running afoul of the law?
What I'm saying is I'm going to look at each situation, and since the charging standard is a reasonable likelihood of conviction, I have to look at what a jury is likely to do and what the sentiment might be with that jury.
There's one more important issue
So
to stand
could-
here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the issue of the fetal personhood law.
Mhm.
And I saw the Channel 15 quotes that you had, I believe it was Channel 15 that you talked to, and it seemed that you were saying that this interpretation provision of last year's law would not be applicable to charge someone under, for abortion for child abuse or something like that. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I looked at the motion filed this weekend by the ACLU, where they're seeking to enjoin the use of the fetal personhood law to use that in a, I would say, novel approach to charge abortion as an aggravated assault or as a child abuse. And what I said previously is that I'm not looking for a novel way to charge these cases. There is a law on the books, and there will be another law in effect in about 85 days. And those are the laws that I'm going to look to address this issue.
But could a doctor or health provider be prosecuted for, providing an abortion in this case if they decided to today? Could there be that potential that they could be prosecuted for helping?
I think there is clearly a law on the books in Arizona that prohibits providers from providing an abortion. So, all right.
Thank you.
I really apologize. I do have something I have to get to, but
Thank you.
Thank you.